There we go. Now we have it. Okay. Yeah, now we're live. Roger. Okay. So, we're just gonna really quickly do something here. Now we have it. Okay. Yeah, now we're live. Roger. Post that. Go into my profile. Retweets. Oh, sorry. Pin. And there we go. Okay. I'm sure you've seen the title. Let people get in here. Finland, named Finland, is a country located right here, if you didn't know, just for your knowledge, that is about to close its border. Here's the official statement from Vicegrad. This is from quite a long time ago, but here we have it. So, Finland is likely to close its entire border with Russia starting tomorrow, which is actually in... Sorry. Sorry, in about an hour. Actually, it's now. It is... Yeah, now. It is in 1 minute. They're likely to close the border with Russia. Starting tomorrow evening, according to one of the country's largest newspaper, Italhit or something like that. The reason is Russia has started pushing large masses of Somali, Syrian, Iraq migrants towards the Finnish border. There you have it. And it is actually quite serious, so tomorrow evening, after 12 o'clock, there may come an announcement announcing such deals. In other news, Israel has accepted the conditions set by Hamas for the hostage release deal. The ball is now in their hands. That is also one of the others. Indian Air Force scrambled 2 Rafale fighter jets search for UFO site near Impal Airport. Really? Unidentified object UFO. It's not a UFO. Well, you know, nowadays you never know. The Israel War Cabinet has agreed to move forward with hostage deals and conditions, which has been decided open upon doing negotiations with Hamas. This deal is now totally in the hands of Hamas leaders. Hamas just needs to accept it. 1 hour ago, and that was 1 hour ago, yeah. IDF forces break through fortified door in tunnel under Shafir after enter underground areas below hospital. IDF units are continuing to raid out the hospitals and have found the tunnels that is supplying Hamas and is making Hamas. And when women in Russia. Holy shit.
Просто женщина стояла, все нахуй. Все. Пиздец. Рядом с...
Holy shit. The fact there is...
Все нахуй. Все. Просто женщина стояла, все нахуй. Все.
What happened? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I went live like 20 times because things were glitching out on me. American F-16 fighter jets will change the course of the war. Change it very seriously. contrary to opinion of skeptics, the spokesman of the Air Force of Ukraine, Yuri Ignat. I totally agree. The factor is that it's very likely that the F-16s will change the war for Ukraine in so many ways. I mean, any modern army fighting a war needs air superiority. It's been like that since World War II, and World War One until, you know, when they first introduced the first aerial battles on planes, and it's been like that ever since. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is Russia is dropping incendiary phosphor on Ukrainian positions near Navika. Russia must be held accountable. This is incendiary rounds. If this falls on you, you will, well, you might not die, but it will certainly burn through you, or burn the things you're wearing. It is white phosphor, pretty much white. You can imagine the closest thing would be if you were to melt metal and then drop it over people, you know. But it's like flares. It's like, you imagine what a flare is. You know, when you fire off a flare, that's kind of it, just falling.
Floyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense. I'm here on the ground in Kyiv.
Oh yeah, and Floyd Austin, we tweeted this earlier here, he is in Kyiv. By the way, it's not the first time the Russians drop incendiary rounds upon cities in Ukraine. It is many, many times at this point. But here you have, this is Floyd Austin. He's in Kyiv, and he's the man.
Hello, I'm Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense. I'm here on the ground in Kyiv, where I just wrapped up a day of robust discussion with Ukraine's leaders and delivered an important message. The United States stands with Ukraine, and we're going to be with them for the long haul. This fight matters to the free world. The U.S. is always going to be on the side of democracy, and as the Ukrainians continue to show grit and strength in the face of Putin's aggression, we've rallied allies and partners to stand up to Russia and to make progress toward a brighter future, because that's what American leadership is all about. And our resolve is stronger than ever.
If anyone should run for office in the U.S., it should be Floyd Austin. He's actually some of the people I'd say is the least corrupt. But no, seriously, you know.
Harder.
Deep State. Let's get on Deep State, see what's happening. Floyd Austin, Secretary of Defense of the Pentagon spokesperson, right? Is he Secretary of Defense? Yeah, no, he's Secretary of Defense, yeah. Is he? God damn it, I got myself on the wrong end of that. But, you know, he's a great guy. And, he's at least one of the least corrupt ones, I'd say. But, you know, people have their opinions. Okay, let's see if there's any movement of Russian troops. Smaller movement from Russian troops. Movement from the Ukrainian troops. We probably have to look down towards the left bank of Kherson. The area here, in the Robotyne area, has turned into quite the standstill. The Ukrainians are currently conducting a lot of aerial operations and operations in such of taking out air defense, taking out defenses, tanks, operating in areas here that they can get closer to railroad, they can get closer to defenses. So they're still doing a lot of good work here, holding a line, and it is a stiff defense from the Russians because they have ducked themselves in. As you can see right here, they've ducked themselves in pretty insanely, as you can see. And it is, oh, sorry. Oh yeah, we can get that up. So as you can see, it is still a stiff defense, and the Russians were still duck in a lot. The Ukrainians have pushed past some of the defenses here, and the Russians are what appears to be holding a line still, but it is it's a strongly defensive, undefensible point here. You see, the Russians have recently also dug a lot of tunnels here, systems there, but nothing. Well, not tunnels, sorry, trenches. I keep thinking about Hamas and trenches and all that stuff. So I'm like, oh, you know. Russians have advised the occupying civilian authorities to evacuate Olinsky on the left bank. The situation seems to be deteriorating faster than anticipated, and Russian and the Kiev in 3 days. Oh, sorry. By the Russian and the Kiev in 3 days crowd among reports of Ukrainian commandos operating behind the E97, which I think is a road. Damn. Okay. Yeah. Is it Thanksgiving? It might be soon. It's very soon. It's gonna be Thanksgiving, right? Zelensky posted a tweet thanking POTUS, Joe Biden, U.S. Congress, and the entire American people for a new military aid package announced today. Additional Hamas ammunition, HIMARS, and Hamas, Jesus Christ. Additional HIMARS ammunition and other armaments be useful at the front line. The United States continues to stand firmly with Ukraine, and our joint resolve to defend freedom remains unwavering. This is the exact signal we must give the aggressor. Agreed. Putin's new super yacht, the 71-meter Victoria, costing $50.1 million, which has been at a shipyard in Istanbul since late October, has been discovered in the ninth of the Putin's known yachts. Oh, it is the ninth of the Putin's known yards. The investigation from the Dusser Center wrote, according to the data, the construction of the yard was started on the Srimash defense plant in 2005, but it was completed in 2019. Formerly belongs to the structures of billionaire and Putin's close friend Gadeni Timchuk. We have a picture of it. I'm not going to read the rest of it here, but there you have it. That's the boat apparently he just bought himself. While some Russians are struggling to live, he's buying himself boats. That's the man that some people still say is better for everything. But no, I tell you. The White House spokesperson, the White House talks about Transgender Day of Remembrance.
On Transgender Day of Remembrance, we grieve the 26 transgender Americans who were killed this year. Year after year, we see that these victims are disproportionately Black women and women of color. No one should face violence, live in fear, or be discriminated against simply for being themselves.
Okay, so the White House just fucked up. They did something stupid, and it's gonna come out. Do you know why? Either they just fucked up by doing something stupid, or they're simply losing their minds. Because they said that they had a Transgender Remembrance Day. But what the fuck is a Transgender Remembrance Day? Like it lost 23 lives. Like we didn't. Well, why don't we have a Cancer Remembrance Day? Why don't we have Ebola Remembrance Day? Why don't we have School Shooting Remembrance Day? Why don't we have? I mean, I'm not American, right? But why don't you have Shooting Remembrance Day? You lost more than that to a mass shooting a month earlier, and you're out here talking about Transgender Remembrance Day. I don't have anything against transgenders, don't get it wrong, but I'm just going to here to point out something out here. This is ridiculous because there is people who are dying of cancers, real diseases. And we figured out pretty quickly that, transgender is not a disease. Thinking it being gay or stuff like that, not disease anymore, gentlemen. Yeah. And we know that, and there's nothing wrong with being transgender, there's nothing wrong with being gay, there's nothing wrong with being bisexual. You can be whoever you want to be, unless you want to be a dog, then I am not standing behind you, but that's just another point. Yeah, this is ridiculous. And the fact that why I think it's ridiculous, because, ask a transgender person who's not too liberal. Ask a everyday normal, everyday... Like, you get what I'm saying. Like, ask an everyday transgender. That's kind of a weird thing to put it, but ask one of those guys, and you say, guys or girls, no, don't get me wrong. You say, do you think that this is something you want? And a lot of them goes, we don't want to be remembered because we're just part of society. We are normal people, and that's true. This whole thing about overdoing it, and especially the factor that she brings up, the fact that they're Black and transgender. Holy shit. Black and transgender living in America, and you can have a good life, but a lot of people still look down at that, and I absolutely don't. But it's ridiculous that the people that do, or even if there is hate crime, but I'm just sitting here pointing out that it's ridiculous that these people are getting killed. It's ridiculous that all this happens. But she said that there's only 23 out of the millions that live in America, and you're telling me that that's the Remembrance Day of transgender. Why aren't there a Cancer Remembrance Day or a Shootings Remembrance Day? But so either the White House just fucked up and they're trying to cover something up, or they're trying to get voters right now, or she simply thought that this was exactly what she wanted to do today.
Well, today on Transgender
I hate her, by the way.
of Remembrance.
By the way, worst press secretary ever. Ask any American, okay? Ask any American, and this is the worst one you've ever had. And this is not because of her color, or because of anything. No. Because we've had black press secretaries before. Haven't you had that before? I think you have. She just, and this is not just my opinion, by the way. She's not good at her job, okay? And it doesn't matter. It's just because of her color. It's not because of anything. No, it's because she's bad at her job. I don't know why she gets to keep her job. And normal, everyday Americans who get late to work, right? There's an everyday American who's late at work, right? He needs to supply his family with food. He has a family. The mom and dad goes to work, the dad gets late, the mom gets late, they get fired from the unfair working conditions that are in America. But this woman right here who doesn't know how to do her job and doesn't really do her job continues to have her job and talk shit. Listen to this.
We grieve the 26 transgender Americans who were killed this year.
26 transgender Americans killed this year, and yet they get a Remembrance Day, and schools and people from school shootings, people that are shot in the streets, things that you don't want to address because it doesn't get you voters. It doesn't get you anything. You don't want to address it because you don't want to sound wrong. But you'd rather not talk about that.
We see that these victims are disproportionately black, women, and women of color. No one should face violence, live in fear, or be discriminated against simply for being themselves.
And true, but the factor is, he says no one has to live in fear. I don't think you have to focus on the factor that people that are transgender get killed, because it's not just transgender people. People get shot in the fucking streets of America by criminals with guns, by insane people with guns. So why not fucking take that out? Why not talk about that? It's ridiculous that their talks lately, right? It's not about school shooting victims. It's not about the recent shooting they had lately, where like 23 people died. Almost, I think it was more than what has died of transgender people. She points out has died. She says that we know, right? And those recently. They don't talk about that. Now, do I think that them talking about having and respecting transgender people is bad? No, I don't. Because, as I said earlier, and I don't need to repeat myself, but I'll repeat myself just for you, that I have no problem with you being transgender. But I just think that it's ridiculous that the United States talks about that and don't talk about anything else. And they don't address the problem they have with school shootings, and they don't address the problems they have with real problems. People that are transgender, yeah, I mean, they may face discrimination, but there are other people who are facing guns, who are facing real diseases, cancer and all that stuff, which aren't getting recognized, which aren't getting talked about enough, which they're not talking about the idea that we need to get, that we need to get better equipment for people with cancer. We need to get better health care for people with cancer and, all that stuff. They're not talking about that, but they rather want to remember, I don't know. It's weird. I guess I'm talking my ass here, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I just think it's ridiculous that they're saying it's a Remembrance Day for transgender people, which is, we already respect them. I already respect transgender people, and I don't see why there has to be sort of Remembrance Day for people that have died that are transgender. It's like why aren't you talking about other things? And if you were to talk about other things as well, cool. But why are you starting with something that is so less of a problem compared to so many other problems that America is facing, which I'm just pointing out here. I'm just saying. It's my opinion. Okay, I'm entitled to my opinion, And I yeah. Guess I'm going out on some thin ice nowadays, right? The winter is coming, and we talked about this. This is why you don't have conditions of war in winter. This is why you don't push forward in the winter. This is what the Ukrainians wanted to do something before the winter, but this is why they have standstills in winter.
Итак, мои сегодняшние приключения.
This is what happens here. It's stuck. It is stuck. It doesn't even, the wheel doesn't appear to be turning either. That thing is completely submerged. You're not getting that out unless you have another vehicle to get it out with. And that's a problem in the winter, so you don't do that. And you can see the snow falling right next to it. So, yeah. Russian 40s are bringing migrants from Iraq, Syria, Somalia, and into other countries between Finland and Russia. The Finnish border guard service reported that 33 migrants have already arrived at the Sala checkpoint. This is one of the 2 checkpoints where you can apply for refugee or international protection. International protection, Jesus Christ. The Yemen howitzers have reportedly released a video showing them hijacking the, can't show the video on YouTube, but you're allowed to go see it on my Twitter. I've just reposted the video on my Twitter. Ukraine Defense Ministry Commission approves backfire drones resistance to Russian electronic warfare. You should. What you need to do is replace GPS with them. You need to just make them into drones. But the problem with doing that is that then you're just firing straight into. You could fire into the residential building. You turn into what the Russians are doing, which is firing drones that doesn't have guidance systems, or just, you know, they're called kamikaze drones. They're just fired towards a direction. But the Russians have introduced recently an electronic warfare system that can take out the GPS guidance systems of a drone that will simply just make it fall because it doesn't know where it's going. It needs the brain of the computer. It would just fry the brain of the computer and the GPS and blah, 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 you know, fall out of the sky, right? The United States will provide $100 million in military aid to Ukraine, including ammunition for artillery and air defense equipment. That was according to the Pentagon. So that was what Floyd Austin was there to talk about today, I think. The Ukrainian Joint Force Commander reveals how troops managed to secure access to backsea in countries south. Cool. More than 30 people were detained in Poland on suspicion of involvement in international organized crime group engaged in illegal transfer of people from Belarus to European Union. Palestinian, Syrian, and Iraqis paid them thousands of dollars to illegally get illegally through the EU. Sorry, Belarus to the EU. That's a lot of money to get through, you know. Manufacturers of footwear for Russian army buy more than 4 million worth of products in the EU this year, and we've continued to talk about that. Germany, Italy, and Spain continue. There's been multiple areas, especially in Germany, and also in the Dutch, also in Holland, where the Dutch have, called the Netherlands, have, also there was some stories about that, where they were supplying somebody who worked for the Secretary of Defense, I think, who supplied some things, and they keep doing it. It's absolutely ridiculous. The traffic at the Korean Bridge is closed because of air alerts. That was 3 hours ago. Over 5,000 female soldiers serve in war zone in Ukraine. Nice. There are a lot of female soldiers, especially in Denmark as well. We have a lot of female soldiers, and it's only getting better and better. People sometimes point and say, you know, are female soldiers on the par with male soldiers? And I'll actually point out something for you. A lot of the time, female soldiers will have a lot more patience. That they're really good for if you were to think about special ops or you know, waiting and, you know, really having the patience to. Well, I think that the study went on the factor that they had a lot more patience. They were a lot more thoughtful about their actions, They did things a lot more thoughtful than the men who were a lot more, let's just shoot right at them. Oh, flares up in Gaza there. Something's about to happen right here. Look at that. So yeah, there's a lot of studies that went around saying that females were a lot more patient and ready to wait for the right time to actually go ahead for the attack than men were, who were a lot more risky and a lot more like just shoot at where you see the enemy. And that's something I think it's interesting, because when you're talking about special ops, or you're talking about having to conduct operations within the enemy's territory or stuff like that, it's a much better situation. We have female special forces. Israel has female special forces. And they were actually doing great on the test scores. So, I can't say that. I can say only due to the studies that they have a lot more patience when it comes to a lot of things. But, so they are certainly on par, and sometimes even can do better when the men. The studies on the men said that the men had a lot more they said that the men had a lot more tendency to just go ahead and fire and try and get as much kill as possible, and they were a lot more brutal when it comes to the fighting. A lot more methodical was the women, which I think is but it's kind of like a weird thing. I would actually advocate for a female special force for any country, made up of females only. And the reason why I'm saying that is because think about one thing. What would be the worst thing for a terrorist to be killed by? A female, preferably from the Middle East, not wearing their traditional clothes, wearing military clothes from a Western country, supplied with Western weapons, going into a Middle Eastern country, taking out terrorists. That would be a fate worse than death for, well, they would die, but that, for terrorists who believe that women are less, that would be something. I've actually advocated a lot for that, and I said it before. I said, if we were to really put fear into terrorists, you'd make a squad of elite female soldiers, which is already a thing, but not as much as I would want it to. And you could send them in, and that would strike fear into them, because they would read on there, talk to everybody, and they would just hear that one of their soldiers or one of their comrades, or whatever they call it, was just killed by a squad of female. They wouldn't believe it, And I think that's psychological warfare for you. And I would like to see that, because I honestly believe, think about it. What's the worst thing? What's the worst thing for a terrorist to be killed by? Right? Bunch of badass women. That's what it is. That's at least what I would say. But I don't know. Think. We've done the traditional ways. Why don't we try something else? Right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. NATO urges Bosnia and Herzegovina to unite and counter Russian influence, Stoltenberg said in Sarajevo. Plans on the German Air Force on November 20th went on the air alert due to the appearance of Russian L-20M. This was reported by the Luftwaffe on the social network X, which is Twitter. In Italy, a court sentenced more than 200 members of the Natgarake mafia to a total of 2,200 years in prison, the country's biggest mafia trial in 3 decades, CNN reported. So there's been a lot more incursions by Russian planes, warplanes, transportation planes, things like that, especially heavy bombers, Tu-160, which is one of their heavy bombers and one of the faster bombers. And then, of course, this, which is one of the things we're watching. I was reporting that. You can see it in my title. Finland is preparing to close the border with Russia. Completely, actually. Completely close the border. They want to do it. Polish farmers will join the protest of transport on the border with Ukraine. That's actually a serious problem here. Earlier today, humanitarian aid was not let through to the border between Ukraine and Poland. Because of a protest by Polish truckers and now, I believe, farmers. Their demands are, actually don't know. I think their demands for something better pay or usually the usual things. I think, or keeping the Ukrainians out of the market, which is a ridiculous command. And I think they need to come up some kind of compromise. U.S. will be able to provide long-range weapons and munitions for Ukraine at least for some time. The Washington Post reports. The publication also adds that Austin's trips is a signal that the American support for Ukraine will not be undermined by Israel's war against Hamas. Oh well, yeah. Floyd Austin visited Kyiv earlier today, and I showed you the video of that. I showed you a video of Floyd Austin in Kyiv. The new PM of Argentina have come out in good support of Ukraine, actually. So here's his statement, as you can see. I do not make deals with murderers, not with China, not with North Korea, not with Russia, not with anyone who does not respect the free world. Jafir Mali. He's a revolutionary kind of guy. Be honest with you, he's a kind of special kind of guy, but he's also, in many ways, has a lot of support by the people. He's said a lot of right things, and he's doing a lot of right things. And he's actually said exactly what I would say if I was there. I do not make deals with murderers. China, North Korea, and Russia. They're murderers in many ways, but they are dictatorships. We don't make deals with dictatorships. Well, the U.S. does, only when it fits them, but that's another story. We all do sometimes, right? But, yeah, he actually came out to the protest here, and he had a video of him actually talking about why he came out to the protest to start with. So listen to this. This is the Argentinian new PM. He was sworn in yesterday. I brought the flag of Ukraine basically because those who defend the idea of freedom cannot tolerate or accept an invasion like Russia has done to Ukraine. Well said, well said. What's the government position of this? The government position is the weak and complicated, with the worst dictatorships in the land, the autocrats. Yeah, and he continues to come out and support. Could we see some Ukrainian aid coming from Argentina? I don't know, but I certainly think that we'll see a lot more favorable terms coming from South America, which is actually good because the conservative ultra-liberal Javier Milei will stop Argentina from joining BRICS on January the 1st. He is awesome. He just keeps going. BRICS is a economic alliance, yeah, between Brazil, Argentina, Russia, China, all the bigger ones, all the dictatorships, pretty much. Well, Brazil is not really a dictatorship, but you know, kind of itching on the factor. But yeah, as his international alliance will be with the U.S. and Israel, and he will downgrade relations with countries ruled by communists such as China and Brazil. Okay, well, okay, so they are communists. All right, I'll take my back. Brazil's communist, apparently. Well, if he said it, they probably are. But, yeah. Okay, Finland is preparing to close its 4 remaining checkpoints on the border with Russia on the night of November 21st to November 22nd. Finnish media, so tomorrow. Gonna have to watch that. Well, I actually think it would be positive for Argentina to see some change in their leadership. They've previously had dictatorships running their country, so it would be great for us to see Argentina actually change, and especially the South American feeder, because they've had a lot of hard time, and they've previously stood behind some of the Russian decisions. But Argentina, with their new leader, appears to be so far off of supporting China and Russia in anything that. You know, they keep calling him this ultra-conservative liberal, which is, he's not a liberal. He's just speaking the right things. Like, and if that means he has to be this ultra-liberal kind of guy, I stand behind it. Armenia will transfer its Toka-U tactical ballistic missile system, Osak-AK anti-missile system, to Ukraine, with assistance of the United States. Russian sourcer Rayber claims. Holy shit. So, Ukraine is about to get ballistic missiles. Armenia will transfer its Toka-U tactical ballistic missile system. Will that be a red line for Russia? Maybe. Well, they're quite long range, so pretty cool actually. That's actually something. That's a bigger thing right there. That could change a lot actually. Japan to provide Ukraine with another 160 million for economic recovery. there we go again. A lot of support coming in for Ukraine, and it appears that the support for Ukraine wavering in some areas, going down, but still in many areas quite strong. Denmark continues to, which is my country. Well, not my country, but I live in my country, you know. So I live, it's my country, right? So yeah, yeah. But yeah, continues to be supporting behind that as well. Here you have one of the largest problem here. New videos from a large group of migrants in Somalia and Syria, Iraq being pushed towards the Finnish border by Russian security services. Many are given bicycles by the Russians for the final stretch. Russia is using weaponized migration as a tool of hybrid warfare. I actually said that yesterday. I said that they were given bicycles. People were skeptical about it, but I said they were giving them, and they were giving them. It is turning winter, as you can see. These people, by the way, don't know what they're walking into, and they don't know. All they've done, they've given everything they have to the Russians. Here's how terrible the Russians are. They've given everything they have to the Russians. They have given all their money. Like, they probably have given everything they have. Maybe they have a few spending money left, right? But they've given everything they have to move towards the EU through Russia. And the Russians, you know that the EU will not let them through. The border will get closed. They will probably continue to try and let them through. And then the Russians will take the money from these people and spend it on the war or anything else, you know. So that's how terrible the Russians are. And that they will continue to do this. And, you know, it's a funny thing because it appears that the UN, who continuously calls on everybody else but except Russia, you know, is a crime. You can't do this. I mean, you can't, you know, mass migrate migrants. It's illegal in so many ways because, well, you just, I don't know how to explain, but you simply can't, you know. I mean, taking money, first of all, they're stealing the money, which is a felony. And second of all, you know, they're giving them false promises and lying to them, which is also, you can't do that as a country, especially. And you also can't just push other people into a country. That's forced migration. You can't do that. You know, so yeah. I mean, that's, you know, no need to explain the factor that it simply is illegal. And that's the Russians for you right there, pushing migrants through the Finnish border into trying to get them through Finland and make them spread out either in Finland or move on towards Sweden and Norway or stuff like that. Ukraine and Russia has exchanged bodies of dead military personnel. The bodies of 93 military personnel has been returned to Ukraine, while Russia has received 80 bodies. RPC has reported, citing a State Duma deputy, the exchange of bodies of war, dead and prisoners of war is one of the few remaining official contacts between Ukraine and Russia. Photo of illustrated purposes. Oh, all right. Yeah. So bodies were exchanged today as well. Kyiv has become an island of security. The middle of the war-torn Ukraine, thanks to Western defense system. Today, the defense of Kyiv is strengthening by Jeopard, Avenger, MIM-23, Hawk, Nash-AMS, and Iris-T, Patriot, and SAM-T. They got a lot of air defense systems in that region there. And they are, you know. They are simply continuing to defend the skies against the enemies. Stoltenberg continues concerning rise in Russian Melgan influence in Bosnia. The Allies strongly support the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Bosnia-Herzegovina. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said, "We are concerned by the secessionist and the division rhetoric, as well as malign foreign interfere, including to holy." I can't. What the fuck is even that? That's not even words. I mean, that's a lot of words. I don't even know. Polish border guards block. Oh shit! Big explosion back there. Polish guards block entry of petrol tanks and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Continues to block it. Polish carriers protesting on the border with Ukraine and blocking humanitarian aid and fuel tanks that would minister development of communications, territories, and infrastructure of Ukraine, Syria, tick. The kick. U.S. President Joe Biden turns 81 today. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Well, I guess so. Happy birthday. The United Kingdom and South Korea are set to upgrade their relations to global strategic relationship. All right. Yeah. Bro, Britannia. But the Polish situation is getting worse and worse by the minute. More and more trucks are getting stopped in the area, and they will continue to waiting for the loving job and promotion. And yeah, I just saw this picture right here. I'll talk about it. Average Finnish police officer loving his job when the pro-Russian protests start misbehaving. Oh, it's like water pressure. Yeah, that's water pressure he's got with him. I can shoot at you. Fuck off, you commie. That guy's loving his job. That guy loves his job. They're like, oh yeah, you don't have to. You're not doing that around here, buddy. Come on, come on. You kidding me? Come on. Right. At least 30,000 Ukrainian soldiers defending Ukraine. This is based on the data collected by. Oh, sorry. At least 30,000 Ukrainian soldiers died defending Ukraine. This is based on data collected by members of a group called Memorial Book of Those Who Fell for Ukraine. 30,000 deceased defenders since February 24th, 2022. 30,000. That's is a lot, but it's considerably less than what the Russians actually have. Yeah. Yeah. 30,000 deceased defenders. So it's not in considerable numbers of war. It's not a lot, but on the total of the people who are realizing they've lost 30,000 soldiers in this war so far, it's quite terrible. The biggest loss of lives, I think, is on the I think the biggest loss of lives is on the humanitarian side, the civilian side, where I think they've lost considerably more. I'm not aware. I don't know if they've lost that much more, but I think they have in some areas lost a little bit more. Yeah. Yemen House of Release has announced they will attack ships with any ties to Israel. They captured a vessel operated by a Japanese company. Netanyahu called what happened an Iranian attack on an international vessel. He believes that Tehran was involved in organizing the attack. Japan Chief Cabinet Secretary said his work is underway to free the ship, which has 22 people on board. Well, I can tell you one way that we could free the ship is you get some guns and you call America and you say, listen, buddy, we will pay you some money and we will help you out there and there, but you're just gonna need a B2. We want a B2. Maybe can we get a B1 Lancer? You know, get over there. You know, bomb them until they give up the ships. That's how you release a ship. You know, I mean, if they want to bomb us, we just do it back. You know, it's very simple, guys. What we do is that we go down there, we set up a lot of bombs, we set up a lot of, you know, long-range precision missiles. We just bomb the shit out of them, like constantly, you know, and then we'll tell them that they can stop this from happening. They can stop it, but all they gotta do is release that ship and promise not to do it again. And if they do it again, well, then we won't stop next time. We'll just continue to bomb them until we feel like it. That's how you deal with terrorists. They don't only speak one language, they speak death. That's how they do it. Iran officially introduced a new shaded 23038 in addition to the classic variant with an autonomous internal guidance systems and GPS signal variant with infrared optical and probably radar guidance system was also shown. Here you have it. You know, Iran once claimed to have made a leap in science when it came to computer chips. And they actually claimed they made a quantum computer CPU. It later found out that they simply bought something off Amazon or had it shipped to their country somehow and then showed it off as a quantum computer system. It actually just cost $60. And I doubt that Iran has anything that actually remotely works in any way possible. Okay, I doubt that they have anything that, well, it works, but it may not work. Ukrainian leads Mars Desert Research Station in U.S. Of course it did. I mean, I'm just. Was he given the job because he's, I don't know, but yeah. Russia put Ukrainian singer Jamala on wanted list. Really? Singer? You put a singer on a fucking wanted list? How fucking far-fetched do you have to be to put a singer on a fucking list? I mean, Jesus Christ. Alright, we have the latest here from Flash. News update from Flash. So watch this.
The message that I bring you today, Mr. President, is that the United States of America is with you. We will remain with you for the long haul. What happens here in Ukraine, that not only matters to Ukraine, but it matters to the rest of the world. It certainly matters to the United States of America. And so the United States and our allies and partners will continue.
повністю все заміновано і тримаємо, як то говориться, оборону. У 2006 році я з цього пункту пропуска пішов на пенсію, прослуживши тут пів свого життя.
Dalga kıranlara rağmen oluşan şiddetli dalgalar geminin ortadan kayrılmasına, kırılmasına sebep oldu. Evet, yarıldı gemi, iki parça oldu.
Вийшли, вийшли! Вийшли з машини! Лови, лови, то, лови, лови! Лови! Все, давайте за бусом. За бус, поїхали.
Well, I mean, with that logic, most of Europe would be very experienced in post-construction work. You know, post-war construction work. In fact, I think most people in Europe will be very experienced in post-war rebuilding. I think. I mean, to that logic, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I found it kind of like a weird thing to put it. I feel like they're saying like Japan was more damaged than what Europe was, which is not true. So, I mean, yeah, okay, sure.
Високоповажні панове керівники делегації, високоповажні колеги, члени делегації, радий вітати в Києві представників уряду Японії та високоповажного японського бізнесу. Сьогоднішня зустріч – це передусім можливість подякувати Японії, японському народу, вам як представникам японського народу за всебічну підтримку України. Ми вдячні уряду Японії.
That president, that guy, you know, he's all right. He's all right. I mean, by that logic, you know, I'm just saying, like they said, like Japan has knows a lot about reconstructing of knows a lot about reconstruction, which like Europe does Europe not know that? I feel like we know a little bit more about post-war reconstruction, you know. I mean, I'm pointing out, you know, but guess they meant it in a good way. They meant it in a good way. I don't know why, you know. But Air Force warns Ukrainians of attack by shitted drones. Air raid warning issued in several oblasts, as you can see. More in the upper part of Ukraine, actually, which is funny. They don't usually do that. The Armed Forces of Ukraine received 3 long-range Titan Falcon unarmed aerial vehicles printed on a 3D printer. The Titan Falcon can fly for up to 6 hours. The range is 400 kilometers. The UAV is equipped with camera with the ability to install a camera with 2.5-inch lens. A 2.5-inch lens, pretty good. See, Russia is pushing into the envelope with way on the Baltic side. Oh yeah, Russia is closing. Well, sorry, Finland is closing the border with Russia tomorrow. At tomorrow night between the 21st and the 22nd, maybe, but we're pretty sure they are. So, 2,900 trucks cannot cross the border with Poland and Ukraine because of protests. Speaker of the State Border Guard Service of Ukrainian Demenchuk. According to him, the strikes allow several trucks per hour in both directions. Yeah, they allow several trucks, but not a lot of trucks. It's about 2 hours. Two trucks, 3 trucks an hour, which is nothing. Yeah. Let's bring you Zelensky with his latest update. What was that? 3 hours ago? That's his latest? Yeah, that's his latest speech. A shorter one today, but, you know.
Шановні українці, українки. Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Насичений був день. Україну відвідав міністр оборони Сполучених Штатів Остін. У делегації разом з ним також і Верховний головнокомандувач Об'єднаних Збройних Сил НАТО в Європі Каволь. Дуже продуктивна розмова. І важливо, що напередодні нового засідання у форматі Рамштайн. Звичайно, ми обговорили ситуацію на полі бою та її перспективи, те, як можемо посилити і нашу оборону, і наш рух. Є новий оборонний пакет для нашої держави від Сполучених Штатів. Я вдячний. Зокрема, буде більше артилерії, снарядів, які потрібні саме зараз. Обговорили також і українські дії в Чорному морі та захист нашого експортного коридору. Свобода мореплавства є фундаментальною цінністю для усього світу, і Україна довела тут, у Чорному морі, що ми здатні виганяти агресора з акваторії, яку він так хотів зробити мертвою. Я дякую всім партнерам, які допомагають нам гарантувати реальне відновлення міжнародного права на нашій землі та у нашому морі. І особливо вдячний Сполученим Штатам за незмінне лідерство у підтримці. Нормальне життя у світі багато в чому залежить саме від того, чи сильна Америка у захисті життя. І світ бачить цю силу у допомозі Україні. Провів сьогодні кілька вагомих нарад. Перша – це планування нашої міжнародної комунікації на найближчі тижні. Будуть відповідні події. Також провів наради з керівниками розвідки і ГУР, і Служби зовнішньої розвідки України. Обидві працюють потужно, вдячний за це. Нарада з главою уряду Денисом Шмигалем, більшою мірою щодо поточних питань, тих речей, які урядовці зараз реалізують, але й щодо наших відносин з деякими партнерами. Зокрема, прем'єр-міністр доповів про перемовини з представниками Болгарії та Румунії. Цей напрямок транскордонної взаємодії зараз, очевидно, зростає. Я дякую партнерам. Це і робота морського коридору, і Дунайського експортного кластеру, і загалом товарообіг між нашими країнами. Лише з Румунією ми бачимо потенціал зростання до 4 мільйонів тонн товарообігу до кінця цього року. Це дуже потужно і дуже підтримує не лише нашу державу, не лише робочі місця в Україні, але й в країнах-партнерах. Увесь регіон зростає, коли сусіди співпрацюють. Я впевнений, додамо ще співпраці і Румунія, і Болгарія, і Молдова, і Україна, і увесь Європейський Союз. Ми абсолютно зацікавлені в тому, щоб наші зв'язки ставали міцніші. Бо згодом і така міцність відображається у зростанні можливостей нашого захисту свободи. Я дякую всім, хто допомагає Україні. Я дякую всім, чия робота зробити Україну, наших людей, наших дітей більш захищеним. І кожному українському солдату, кожному нашому сержанту, кожному офіцеру Сил оборони і безпеки України, усім, хто захищає державу і дійсно дбає про людське життя. Я дякую. Слава Україні!
Oh. Slava Ukraine.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці
Okay,
України.
thank you, Slinsky.
Насичений.
Thank you. You did good on the first thought. Don't need the second one. Right. Well, let's bring you. See, I want to see if there's anything interesting in the air. Nothing interesting in the air. What is up? Oh, Forte 10 is up. Forte 10 is in the Mediterranean. So Forte 10 has picked another route lately. Can you see it on this one? No, you can't even see it on this one. It's funny. So Forte 10 has recently picked up a new route. It's now outside Lebanon. Wonder what it's doing outside Lebanon. Watching something? You don't have to be a genius to figure out. It's Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Oh, there's a river join up over the East China Sea. Some action here in South Korea. Black Hawk. Some reconnaissance planes, and then we got ourselves a river joint heading towards South Korea. We got a little bit of, it's right in the East China Sea right now. Well, it's actually the East Japan Sea, but they keep calling it the East Chinese Sea because they say that, you know, no. They claim this one, and then they also claim this one, and they call that the South China Sea. But everybody keeps saying, well, it's actually more maybe the Vietnamese Sea or the the Philippine Sea, or they could have just named it something else, but they keep saying like, oh, it's the South China Sea, like they fucking own the sea. Like, that's the thing. That's why China thinks it owns everything, because they named the sea after China, you know. So it's like, yeah. And then the one right next to this one is called the Yellow Sea. Like, what? Like, then this one is called the Yellow Sea, and then that one's called the East China Sea. Why is this one? Why isn't that one just part of the East China Sea? Why is it different sea right there? Like, I don't get it. You know, it's kind of like a weird map they put up. Like, I'm not gonna question the map makers. I'm just gonna question the tiny bit. You know, I'm not questioning too much. Just a tiny bit. You know, just a tiny bit. Ukraine defenders forces repel assaults on 6th front and hold positions on left bank of Kherson Oblast. General Staff reports. Thank you. Oh my god. They regretted that, that's for sure. Look at this. It's 1992. Latvia just regained independence and Russian soldiers sent back to Russia. The drunk commies tells the Latvians, "We always fucked you in the past and we will fuck you in the future." They soon regretted it. That's the Russian soldiers there, being sent back. Doesn't close his hand. He's got it stuck right there. Oh, and breaks the window. That's the last thing he ever did, because then, you know, they call off the train leaving, pulled him out, off the train, and then proceed to hit them a bit. Can't show the rest, but you know, you get it. That was during the downfall of the USSR as well. You know. Yeah. So, the Howitz, the Yemen Howitz, released a video. Rebels hijacked a cargo ship in Red Sea over the weekend, and they hijacked it. So they came in on a chopper, very fittedly painted with the Yemen flag and the Palestinian flag. There is guns, and they are holding people at gunpoint in said video, but there is no one getting shot in the video. Just want to point that out. They do hold people at gunpoint. Of course, there is guns. Looks very much like an exercise. Who are you hiding for? Who the fuck are you hiding for? It's a fucking cargo ship. There's not gonna be anybody with guns. Like, who the fuck are they hiding for? Like, they're acting like they're storming a fucking battleship. Like, who the fuck are you hiding from? There's no one with guns on a cargo ship. You know, they're not sailing through the areas with the most amount of pirates. You know, like, what? So here's the part where they get, you know, hold them at gunpoint. They don't speak the same language, but they speak language. They didn't even say, like, sit down in English. I tried to actually speak English to them. They just said it in their language and expected them to, what, understand it? Thank you. And then the usual, God is great, God is great. Congratulations, you took a ship full of commercial equipment, filled with people who were not military, no, who were simple civilians sailing on a ship, and you then took the ship with about 20 times as much firepower as they have, if they have any firepower. You then proceeded to move through the ship as if they did have firepower, which they didn't. But yeah, you know, whatever. Look at that. That's Minister of Defense of Britain. At least 11,000 Ukrainian children are reportedly being detained at 43 re-education camps across Russia, thousands of miles from home. Their simple right to life and liberty is being impacted. Not just impacted, my friends, they're being taken away. Okay? Russia is a third world country. 2 months after landing in a field in Siberia, the passenger plane has suffered a failure, is still there. A fence has been built around it, though. They didn't even move the plane. They don't have resources. Lithuania will contribute funds from fines for non-compliance with sanctions to Ukrainians' recovery. Alright, yeah. Total of 46 combat losses occur at Russian storm forefronts of General Staff report. U.S. Secretary of Defense Floyd Austin has already met with Zelensky in Kyiv. We got that. Well, I think we know that by now. We've talked about that. How many? see. There's not a lot of combat losses from anywhere really. I think some kind of big push could be coming tomorrow. Usually that's how they do it. They usually just one day if they don't have a lot of combat losses, the next day they usually have a lot of combat losses. So that's, you know, something you want to come by. But I'm talking about the Russians here, and I think I have the official amount of how many they were lost today. We have it right here from the Kyiv Independent, the one we always use. 640 troops, 2 APVs, which is considerably low. 7 vehicles, fuel tanks, 4 artillery systems, 9 UAVs, 1 MRS, and 1 special equipment. It is very much believed that they're probably going to go for another push tomorrow, or they're stopping their pushes because it's winter. We saw a video earlier today really putting that into perspective, that it is in fact winter, and that you can see that it's winter, and winter is coming, winter is there, winter is affecting Ukraine in many ways. So they could be trying to stop the advances now or continue the advance. If I know the Russians right, they'll probably try and continue. Hamas. Horrible. It's 3 a.m. It's last call in hemisphere, but this chaser ain't ready to go. What the fuck is even that tweet, dude? Like you didn't even put anything there. One of the checkpoints suspended operation at Ukrainian-Polish border. That was 9 hours ago. So they completely suspended it. All right. Well, I didn't plan to go live that long today, so I think I'm gonna end it here. Just wanted to come back. Just wanted to come real quickly and give you a situation update. You might want to go back a bit in the video to see what we talked about. But you know, the biggest news, of course, being this Finnish border closing that's gonna happen tomorrow. Probably Estonia is gonna follow suit. Maybe Latvia too. We'll have to watch that and well, wait and see, right? Russian brings 34,000 Russian textbook to occupied Kherson Oblast. Jesus Christ. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. We will be back tomorrow with more on the terrible commies and Hamas. So, not a lot of movement today, of course, because there has been a ceasefire called today by the Israelis and Hamas. Their latest from those guys is that they are holding a talk about negotiation on hostages, and will probably agree to that. At least the Hamas has Israel has agreed to the terms. Hamas is now the ones having to actually agree to the terms, and when they do agree to the terms, hostages could be released. Will they keep up the war by then? Don't know, but probably could.
Like the magic is gone. He's the love of my life, but something is wrong.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and see you tomorrow. For